Hi folks and welcome along to this Sonic live event. I think this is our fourth live event.
Fifth, I think. Yeah, fifth. Culture Tech was our last one.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about effects and risers today. That coincides with the launch of our new Ultmate FX Volume 2 pack, which is out now.
Yeah, you can grab it on the site. If you just go over, we've got a new tab at the top, Ultmate FX 2.
It's going to be sort of $14.95 and there's a bit of discount for viewers today, so go over and check that out. We're going to be taking a bunch of user questions as well, so get them in on YouTube.
On YouTube,
discuss.
So the comments on the right of YouTube, or discuss if you're on our Sonic page, Sonic Live. We've got the discuss at the bottom and the Facebook tab there as well, and we'll be looking on Twitter and things like that there. So keep the questions coming in, and we'll be giving away a few free packs of Ultmate FX.
And we've got a few questions that are already in, so we're going to head over to the studio now to check them out. Hi folks and welcome back. We're in the studio here with myself and Chris. We're going to be taking a look at a few different questions that we've been taking from users using Logic and also Ableton. So we're going to do a bit of switching about, and I'll do a few and Chris will do a few. So we're going to head back over to Bri. He's going to give us our first couple of questions and then we'll just get cracking.
Hi guys, so we've got a couple of questions that have come in sort of prior to the show, and we've got a few conversational ones and more sort of tech tippy kind of ones. So we'll start off with a tech tip one just to get sort of things rolling and get the boys in the studio giving you some good information. So we've got one here from Jürgen Kramer. This is on Facebook, and he wants to know how to make the riser on Mandy versus Bookashade body language, and it's the Toka Disco remix. So the boys have already got the point in YouTube, I think, set up, so we're going to head back over there and they can show you how to make this.
Yep, so we've got it here on YouTube. So we'll just play through this. Cool. So lots of feedback delay going on there.
Yeah, lots of. It sounds to me very much like the tape delay in Logic. So
this is a pretty standard effect. Something that you should know. There's a tape delay in Logic, and there's also MDMA dub delay, which is a free VST plugin. So I think that's the group DMA. They do a bunch of free plugins. So you can grab that. It does exactly the same thing. Has a nice feedback.
The tape delay in Logic, I love, actually, and a lot of people do love, and I've seen a few posts and forums about the feedback. You get that exact gritty sound.
Yeah.
There's a magic number, which we will talk to you about the feedback.
And I think also there's TAL do a dub delay as well, so check that out as well. So I think we've got that as well there. So
we're just gonna, it was kind of a pulsy sort of noise, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was a nice pluck in...
what do you think?
It was factory plucks and then simple
pluck,
simple keys. Yeah, something like that.
Just turn that down a bit for the meter, please, get us. Yeah, so we'll program in a quick.
So this will work on a whole range of sounds. You know, when you're coming up to your break, it can be your synth part, it can be a vocal, it can be drums, it can be anything else. And what sort of the technique is, you put your delay on, and you bring up your feedback, and as your feedback goes up, it sort of creates this density of sound. And
absolutely. So let's just loop that up. Let's get it. So get a bit busier. Something like that. Just very simple. Quickly add on a delay.
Now, would you put the delay onto the actual track, or would you put it as a sound?
Well, it depends on what's, because we've only got one sound here at the moment. I'll tell you what, should we add in the sweeps?
Yeah, we'll get some sweeps in as well. They had sweeps in their track and sort of various reverb noises. Because I would tend to maybe, have the effect on a return and then send a bunch of different stuff to it.
Well, what we'll do is we'll use Logic's track stack, which is essentially that. Let's get a longish sweep. We can tell it's long here by 3.8 meg. So let's drop that in.
So after this as well, we'll go through a bit of a walkthrough of Ultmate FX.
This might be nice because it's kind of rhythmical and delay, so we can delay that out to see what happens. And so we highlight that all these. Let's move that up there. So let's highlight these three geezers and go to track stack, create, and then on this.
So this is Logic's grouping.
Yeah, kind of grouping. So it's just send it over all to a bus, and on that bus we'll put the delay. So let's take.
So this is still not a send and return. This is just grouping the tracks.
No, this is over to a bus. They've now been all sent to the bus.
Yep. So it's like a group as opposed to a send and return.
Yes. So let's take it. So the feedback, we want a lot of wet. I love this flutter rate. This is kind of where the tape delay comes in. It sort of gives you a nice wobbliness.
Yeah, and that'll create the density in the thing, so that the taps of the delay aren't all landing exactly in the right on the beat.
They get a bit of sort of vibrato-y going. Let's just mess about with our feedback to sort of see what type of thing we can get going. So once we get to 56 fill, we'll start here, feeding back on itself. So we'll just
very nice.
Pull that. So yeah, that gives us that effect. So what we need to do then is automate this. And let's go to tape delay and go to feedback. And this, whenever I've done this, it's taken quite a bit of sort of jiggery pokery to get it. To get that.
Your feedback to
rise
crescendo at the right point,
and then come off again. If you listen to Holding On to Nothing, sort of that's exactly. I mean, I spent.
Would you ever assign it to a controller and do it manually?
You can do it manually, but you want. I sort of sat and tweaked it so because I wanted to sit where it was really nice. So we have a feedback here. We put in 50%. Set at 9. We want to get to 56, and then back off. So we can just bring it down. Let's just end there. So
maybe want to bring
exactly. We want to maybe the 56% earlier. Yeah. We want to feel that feedback.
Would you maybe go up a bit to create the more density and then come
you
back
go up
down?
to 61 and then back down. So yeah, it's all about sort of tweaking these to get them. So you can start here, feeding back. And to get that more interesting, then we can use the low cut. And we can, get the low cut up. So it's starting to...
So I mean, this is a really good alternative. Instead of, there was a question, I think Brian was asking about, or it was a guy was asking about, how do you keep your, effects original, different for each sections of your track? And this technique is obviously going to apply specifically to that portion of the track.
Yeah.
So it's always going to be unique depending on where you
have the automation. Yeah. Well,
and then you can back that up with other risers and effects and stuff.
Yeah. So spend with the tape delays or any tape delays, feed it back on itself. Spend a bit of time getting those feedbacks. Like you feel it rather than program it. And
one of the other things we used to do with Psychotron tracks was using the pitch. And so you would get the delay time, take it off sync.
Yeah.
And then
so type 128.
Yeah, and then we would
go in and automate that.
Automate the delay time down, and that'll create like a pitch riser. So you'd Maybe we start wanting to automate it from like
Here.
there down.
And how much how far would
Yeah,
you go
about
down?
there, and then right down to 0.
Zero?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's have a listen to that.
So it's another. You maybe want to extend that out, or wait till it's a bit more dense. But
Yeah. You could have it right over a long period of time.
Yep, so there we go. That's our first question. We're going to head back over to Bry, and he's going to give us another question.
Yep, so that was great. Sounded good, by the way. We've got a couple more here from Facebook. These are more sort of conversational kind of ones. So we've got one here from Sean Clayton, and he wants to know how much room frequency-wise should you leave for your riser? Should you drop out a lot of instruments or just slap it on top?
I tend to view risers as sort of an addition to the track as opposed to a feature. You kind of want your risers are a secondary element that is to bolster up what you're doing in your main track. So you should be doing something with your lead sound or your vocal or some other elements to sort of bring.
Yes, they enhance the track. They're not a memorable part. Well, they are a memorable part.
Yeah,
but yeah, it should be built in and around your main track. Don't lose sight of the main riff or the body of the track.
Yeah.
Don't prioritize a riser over.
Yeah, no one wants to be sitting in a club and all they hear is just a big whoop. You need, whether it's your plucks. The way we've done there with the tape delay riser. You're getting an element of your track and that's rising up, or you're doing something with your riff, or you're doing that, and then the effect should really be sitting sort of underneath that and just sort of bolstering up those.
Yeah,
elements.
It's the enhance, and it's a signpost for the listener, isn't it? It's sort of to say, here comes something big is going to happen, get ready, and it's sort of that heightened tension and stuff. It's not, I wouldn't carve out a big space and then plunk your riser into it.
If anything, it would be the other way around.
Absolutely. And B, I think one thing I've learned over the last few years is to be subtle with the risers, and I actually learned it from you. Was watching you building stuff and going, like, I used to have my effects quite loud, and now I'm definitely turning them down and letting sort of the track. And it sounds, the more subtle they are, they're not intruding on the track itself, but are there and guiding you as it.
You want it. It's like anything with dance music. You want the song or the musical part to really be the core elements, and you're just really kind of emphasizing that all over the place. So hopefully that answers your question. Go back to Bry.
Yep, so we've got another one here on the discuss comments, and this one kind of ties in a wee bit more with Ultmate FX in terms of it being a sample pack with sort of pre-made build-ups and sounds and things like that there, but it also has a sort of, you can use it to build your own sort of build-ups. And he wants to know, when you produce tracks yourself, do you prefer to put in finished risers and FX and just tweak them? Or do you prefer to create them from scratch so you can alter and tweak them completely? And when you make sample packs like this, do you create all the samples in the same BPM and note?
I mean, any of the stuff we do at Sonic Academy is for us to have stuff to use in our tracks, whether it's Anna, Kick, the sample packs, Ultimate Drums. It's everything we've built is stuff that we want to use.
It's areas we've gone. We need stuff.
Yeah,
like
when we were doing a remix together, or we're making a track, we're going, I'd love a bunch of risers, or I'd love more risers, or I'd love more drums, or I'd love more. I'd love Anna to be able to create this sound. That's our focus is always that. So all we're really doing is saving people time, by creating Ultimate Effects and Ultimate Effects 2, and having those elements. And they're just elements, we still would put those in and layer them up and, add multiple layers and add effects to them and change them and manipulate and be creative as with.
They're tools. They really are tools. They're not anything more than that. It's to enhance, to try and get you to achieve that. When I'm building these things, it's to try and I'm listening to the best of the best out there going, those are clever effects. How do they do that? Break it down, work it out, and try and recreate that for you guys to use in your tracks.
Yeah.
And drag and drop.
Why
in.
don't we take a quick look through the Ultimate FX pack, and you can sort of see the different elements that we've got.
I think it's around. It's over 500 meg of stuff. So half a
There's
gig.
about 500 unique samples and around 500 or 600 meg of stuff.
The first thing is big reverb hits. So it comes in this folder, and in this folder we have a big long list of big reverb hits, and they're exactly what they say. They're big reverb hits. So
for breakdowns or just key moments, you want to just throw.
That's kind of a big reverb clap that you could use in your track. Get it side chained. That was it's kind of like Anjuna Beatsy, Matt Zoe type sort of.
Yeah, there was a Matt Zoe track recently that had a clap with a big massive reverb in it, and then the reverb was like almost sustained for a long time, and
if you go and watch
sidechained.
My Future Disco course, which went out last week, I use this reverb hit and then I chop it about 4 or 5 beats in and loop that, so and it just continues on, and then I use a filter to filter down as I want. So I could potentially have this going on forever through the track, sidechained, and it sounded brilliant.
It's that pure energy. It's a step on from white noise, just that it's maybe not just that sort of simple white noise sound. You've got a bit more
it's got a
body
crack,
and a bit more stereo.
It's got a crack of a clap there. So really nice, for proggy stuff, incidental, in between, sidechain these things. That's just
be clicks, just time savers, really, aren't they?
Yeah, they're sort of techno,
and obviously these can all be reversed. And what else we got? Other packs.
We'll get back to construction kits because they're awesome. Crashes took a slightly different approach this time to crashes rather than just cymbal crashes. We tried to do more white noisy, contemporary.
Yeah, and one of the other things we sort of pre-processed. We pre-processed a lot of these a bit more compared to Ultimate FX 1. When we were actually making tracks, we were putting them in, processing them, and then bouncing them out from them being in the track. So you shouldn't need to do as much
to these.
Yeah, they should all be nicely sort of sonically.
And these are kind of glassy hits that you kind of had loved using in tracks, where it gives you different sonic texture, and
especially just some breakdowns where you want that sort of shimmeriness.
Drops are big, mega fat drops with big sort of sub kicks, maybe hats. As you're dropping the track, you get into the sort of drop break point, hands in the air. These are all.
And even shorter breaks. So if you're doing sort of shorter transitional breaks in the middle of your sort of verse running section, you can.
Then this was a personal request.
Yes, I asked for this one. I just really like in tracks and when the sort of running sections going to just have wee breaks and wee elements, and sort of I get really frustrated when I'm making a track because I want to get further on in it
than you actually are.
Than I actually am, and I find arranging extremely frustrating because I know what I want to put in and stuff like this, but I just can't be bothered with all the
thought of putting it all in. You go, in my head, this sounds amazing, but can I be bothered to make all this?
Can I be bothered to do all that? I put a snare fill on, and I'm gonna have to automate all the filters, and I'm gonna have to do all this. And again, it's this stuff just helps me
do it. So these are 1 bar fills. You can use the whole bar, half a bar, a quarter of a bar. Sort of.
Few Friday type snares in.
So we've used these in. We did a remix
for Cushy and
Hush. A month ago, and these came in in the middle section. These came in really handily.
Yeah,
and made it sound really, really cool. So there are over 30 fills there you can use. We've also got kits, and I'll call you up a kit. Let me just see. So there's a Bitwig kit, there's a drum racks, and EXS24 kit, and it's just lovely little noises. Oh, so just you can have your track going and just have these guys. So yeah, you get one for Ableton, one for Bitwig, one for EXS24, and then all the samples in case you want to build one in what do you call that? FL Studio or whatever.
Yep.
Noise sweeps. We have nice put through various expensive filters.
Yeah, we spend a bit more time with the actual processing of these. There's a lot of UAD tape stuff and some nice UAD compressors and various things just to give them a bit more of a saturated, warm.
Just a real refined sound. So you have, there are different types of white noise, pink noise, the big steam noise type sort of things, ups and downs, which isn't a noise, but reverse sweeps. These are mega long.
So these are main break sort of riser sections.
I mean, this is playing at the moment, so it's still rising.
Still rising. Rising real big.
Here it comes.
Oh, here we go.
There you go. See? There you go.
What about, give us number 2 there? So like a 7 megabyte. This is going to be some sort of epic monster.
We could probably cut back to Brian. He could ask a few questions. Cut back to us, and this thing would still be going. Yeah, this is over, your big long breakdown. If you can imagine some vocalist, lots of lovely reverbs and tinkly bells, and this just creeping up in the background. Oh, can you feel it? Keep going. Keep going. Come on.
There we go.
So there, really nice. Risers. These are
So more tonal.
more tonal. These are very EDM-y, the high impact, high energy. Let's just in your face. Let's have it. Let's flick through some of these. So some of them can be a straight tone, just rising up. Some will have a gated,
Yep.
Layer 4 or 5 of these guys up.
Yeah, so I mean, you wouldn't just throw that on it. So when you want a white noise sweep in there and a few other things underneath it, I suppose there is stuff there as well.
And you could program in a snare. So yeah, 20 risers, all pre-made. Short ups. I love these little things. They're literally half bar.
Yeah.
Really
Again,
nice.
just middle of your track, transitional section.
Yep.
Getting in and out of your sort of drum fills and stuff.
Spot effects are spot effects, just things, incidental noises in between a track. Just if that's playing along.
Yeah. If you're doing a techno track and you want to keep things interesting, throw something like that on, and maybe complexter. What's it called? Complexter. What's the native instruments yoke?
Massive.
The reactor.
Oh, Monarch.
Complexter. Complextrix.
What's that? Oh, what are you talking about?
Do you know the thing we did a walkthrough of?
Molecular.
Molecular.
Yes.
Yes. Molecular. Yes, that's the one.
Okay, I'll keep it right. So, construction kits. We have built 7 of these guys. Well, 6.5, because number 2 is just a full build, but it's so awesomely fat that we had to put it in. So it's got a riser, it's got the noise, and it's got the snare. You have a full one, and then it breaks down into the snares, the risers. So you can just, that's just the risers of this. As you can hear, there's no snares. It's side chained, so you can literally drag and drop into your track. There's the snares, or there's the full.
Yeah, so if you're mega lazy like I am, then you can just throw these in, and it is very tempting to just sort of throw them in as is and just sort of use them in your track. But yeah, we would encourage you to sort of layer up different things and make something original yourself.
So there you go.
Yeah,
just a quick
overview.
overview.
Let's go back to Brian, see if he's any more questions.
Yep. So guys, don't forget, if you are posting questions, we're going to be giving away some free packs of Ultmate FX too. So if we pick any of your questions to be featured here, you're going to get yourself a free pack. So don't forget to post. So we've got a couple more here. There's one that I've been trying to get my tongue around. It's Cyril Ostra has asked on Twitter how to make the sustained delay vocal risers on Logic Pro X. Well, luckily we're using Logic Pro today, and it's from a track called I Moderni, and the track is called Un Giorno Qualunque. That's my best.
Well, we're going to actually do this fills, as you can see, we've just swapped. We're going to do this in Logic Pro X. And the track...
We're going to do it in Ableton.
Sorry, Ableton. What am I talking about? If you click on the
Oh, yeah.
internet.
Okay, we've got this.
And so they're looking for the vocal. So that,
Yeah, so vocally sweep up. Yeah, so we've got a vocal in here. We had a look at this question earlier, so we're gonna show you what we did. I'll just get rid of these points. So we got a basic vocal. Hold on, I'll just need to get this back in time. Take lip off. Our start point. I'll just warp this straight again. It's not let me warp.
You're not loving Ableton 9, are you?
Oh no,
You're
let's
not.
get my head in.
There you go.
God, what's its problem? I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know why it's not giving me warp markers. Turn warp off and on again. Is it going to work?
There you go.
Work here straight. 127. We know it's 128. So yeah. So imagine you've got a vocal. You got a section in your vocal. You wanna loop up. We're gonna loop up this section here.
So we're looking for a sustained held note. So
Looking for something that we can loop up and throw into a sampler. So I'll turn the loop on and so we got that section, and what we want to do is create a new audio track, and we're going to resample this just so we've got a clean audio file with this in it. So we'll solo our vocal, and what we can do then is create a new MIDI track, throw sampler in, and then we'll throw our vocal in. Just turn this up a bit. And what we can do then is loop our sample up. So we'll turn into this loop mode. And then we can set our loops start and end. I'm just going to loop around.
So is that looping forward then backwards? Is that
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll move our start position to the
loop point.
And then we're going to crossfade. So you'd have your track playing, and then you'd want to crossfade this sort of in at the right point. And then what we can do is go into our modulation and go into our MIDI, sorry, and assign pitch to our pitch bend. We can turn it up as high as we like, and we'll create a MIDI part. Just recording that in. You can have it as long as you want. You know, and the loop doesn't have to be that accurate because you're going to be putting effects on and various bits and bobs. And then we can go into our envelope, select our MIDI control and pitch bend, and then we can go up as much as. So that's pretty much that. Yeah, I think you might be able to do it in simpler as well, but I think that doesn't have the same modulation capabilities for your pitch bend and stuff. So
there we go. There's that sort of continuous vocal, just looping up a section and then getting the pitch riser to go. So it's back to Brian for some more questions.
Okay, so we've got another question here from Mars on the discuss comments, and he wants to know what kind of mindset do you have going into an arrangement session, plotting your effects and risers. Some effects are timeless and seem to be always in vogue. Others seem to be flavor of the week and can end up dating your track pretty quickly. How do you strike that balance?
Yeah, good question.
It is. That's a really good question because there's some massive cliches out there at the moment. The Prada snare being sort of the first one that springs to mind.
Yeah, I mean it's probably. I mean, it's a nice sound. It does work, and it's a good way of getting into a break. It's maybe, as you say, a bit overused at the minute. But there's other elements like a sweep. Your white noise sweeps aren't.
They're timeless. The white noise is used in house, trance, electro, across genres. White noise it works in a club. It gives you that intensity, that sort of claustrophobic feel. But going back 7, 8, maybe 10 years, it was 909 snare roll. You know, when I first started making stuff in '98, you had to have a 909 snare roll.
And yeah, absolutely everything. Then you sort of threw a kick under it, and then
kick doing exactly the same 16th, and then going 30 seconds, and then.
I used to have. I can't remember what sample pack it was, but it was the sort of first big sweep I had. It was like called a massive sweep or something. It was maybe from a Future Music sample pack. I can't remember. But that was when we started transitioning from like the snare fills had become a bit cliched, and we were starting to look for other ways of building up.
If any of you know my awesome work, Hudson Street, if you listen to, the big was genuinely made an attempt to try and do a build up without using a snare, and it kind of became the hook of the track. So it was me I got so bored of programming 909 snare fills, I used this big synth, and it's essentially a riser. It was pitch bend filtered up, and so risers are big today. The big Prada snare is big. White noise will always work. So try, if you're producing. It's hard to try not to use cliches because they work, and there's a reason why Prada snare is everywhere, because it really works.
I think what we were talking about earlier as well about not letting the riser become the feature of the track. It's a backup element. You need the core of your track to be doing something interesting at that point.
Yeah, don't think a massive riser will rescue a rather
a lame sort of element. And what sort of techniques would you use in a track? Not talking about risers or fills. How are you getting those elements bigger or wider? What are you doing?
Well, if I'm using white noise, if you're creating a white noise, to get a sort of more interesting one is
beyond white noise. So say we're not talking about risers or sweep. We're talking about, for example, a main riff that you want to do something unique and interesting with, or whatever those other elements are that aren't the effects. What techniques are there that? So
we're talking about how to make riffs interesting.
Yeah, in terms of the build-up section, what can you do them?
Well, you can start to sort of delay. I would start feeding. Sometimes if I say it's like a pluck riff that you're sequencing, feed it into a delay, and also feed it into a reverb, a big reverb, and slowly creep that reverb up so it starts to become this sort of cacophony. As always used. Release time starts
changing the release time.
Yeah, so you get, if you have a plucky sound, it becomes longer while feeding that into a delay, feed that into a reverb sidechain, and that just becomes that can almost become a riser.
Lipping up vocals and doing something similar to we've just done in that sort of pitch rise technique. As well.
What else? Filtering out bass is a simple sort of do a low cut or high pass on a bass and the kick drum, and that again gives the listener, here comes something's going to happen,
So just try and be creative with your main elements first before you start thinking about the risers, because the risers will if you can get a really nice core element that's building up and rising nicely, then the effects will sort of help that.
Think of risers. Some of the risers I built, think of it in 3 layers. You have a white noise sort of layer that, think of it as the funnel. It's kind of wide. Then there's the sort of detune saw. Try and make something interesting there. Try and get it moving in some way. And then, would use a sine wave sort of pitching up as well. So you have this sine wave just doing the bottom end.
Doing the sub, and with some snares. And
a saw in the middle, white noise on top. So the sine's mono, the saws are this, and the white noise is up here, and then snares on top of that. And that's your kind of core riser.
Cool. Okay.
Back to Bri?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got another question here. This is more of a sort of a doer, this one. So it's from John Sloan, and it's on Facebook. And he wants to know how to create a endless pitch riser. So that's sort of what this reminded me of was the sort of Hatera's Space Invader one, where the riser just keeps on going up the whole way through the track. So that's it.
Yes, endless risers.
Endless risers. We've been debating this today.
Yeah, we had a quick go at a sort of endless riser earlier. Got us there. I think, yeah, it should be pretty easily transferable, this technique, to Ableton or Logic. As you can see, me and Chris have switched again. My seat seems smaller.
That's because I was sitting in it and I'm small. Okay, let's, if you want to throw open Logic.
Yeah.
There. So let's get a riser going. Which,
yeah, I think something with not too much sort of, that could work. Yeah.
okay, let's throw that in.
So the technique is that you want to have your risers overlapping, and you want to cross fade them between each other.
Yeah.
So as one riser is coming up, the other one is sort of subtly
Going down.
Yeah.
And just in terms of volume, that is, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
you
fade out.
You can either automate it, or you can use what Chris is using here and do a bit of a fade.
Yeah. So we've got one. Let's just loop around this. So now the second one's coming in. So yeah, we can change the automation curve maybe a bit longer.
Yeah, a bit longer probably.
8,000. And curve probably a bit more like that.
Yeah. And then just copy them all up.
So copy these guys up.
Is it an endless riser? We shall find out.
Again, what we can do is track stack these guys. And smear it with maybe a bit of reverb.
So there's a bit of a white sweep at the end of that. Would you
Yeah.
maybe try 3 layers, so you're covering
With a different...
No, just another duplicate of that
Right.
layer, and just sort of offset them again.
So probably 2 bars in. Yeah.
Yeah, keep those ones really. Yeah, I see what you're doing now. Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, maybe try that.
We put that into the track stack. Just put on the fade out on these guys.
Still getting that white noise this week. The fade out on the last one.
Let's just pull. So maybe try some sort of delays in there to smear, things away, just to try and sort of muddy it a little bit.
Yeah. And so we could take a loop maybe of that, and then have the loop pitching up or something.
So that.
Move it into the middle. Yeah, there.
Here.
Over where you were. Yeah.
So bounce that out, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, I've got that to go. Maybe even go one more layer, but
Yeah.
might just become white noise. And no, yeah, I think that's probably.
Let's do it.
Yeah. And obviously you can use your sort of high pass filter and to sort of bring that up as you need to.
Just moving that around. And to take a high cut. And that'll keep going and going and going. And you can just have that slowly.
Yep, so I think that's pretty much it. Obviously, you can play around with different risers. That's maybe not
Yeah,
the
because
best.
I think because of the
white noise.
the white noise at the end,
Yeah.
would be
Something like that probably would work better, yeah.
yeah.
Do you want to quickly
Yeah.
throw that in and try it with all those? See if we can do it.
Shove that down. Let's mute that. Let's bring one in. Let's do a fade out, probably about 8,000. Let's create a new track. Let's do it every bar. Oh. Create a track. Yeah. Do you think
We're
that's
really
enough?
going for it now.
I really am. You know, this is. There you go. Let's highlight all these tracks. Let's go to mixer, and we'll just, because they're all highlighted, we can pull all the faders, and then create a little track stack. And switch off our mixer. Bring these down and just compress. And you would just spend a little bit more time just working on those crossfades, but there's it just
Yeah,
you know,
you could crossfade some in as well, and yeah, but that's a sort of general technique. Okay, let's head back over to the Brysky, see if he's got any more questions.
Yep, so we've got a good one here in terms of mixing effects, and this one's from Manchichi Head. I think this is on the discuss comments. He wants to know what's the best tip for positioning a riser in the mix for impact, the stereo position, front and back, etc. And do you tend to focus on processing the riser itself or the other elements in the mix to allow the riser to work?
okay.
I think we've maybe covered a few of those sort of details in our previous topics.
Right, here's it. There's a pre-made track that
Yep.
I've taken the risers out of, right? So, you know, let's try and get some sort of riser going inside. That's how would you mix that? What sort of?
Yeah, I mean, I'd almost work back. You know, I'm sort of looking at the end point of the track.
Mm-hmm.
You know where it's going to drop, and I want that element for me is the most key part. That bit just before the yeah.
Right.
So I would start with getting a nice crash on the down on that.
Okay. So that's a nice crash. So we drop that on to 17. So what I would do there, especially if it was kind of a trancy track, I would delay that out on the quarter notes. Bit of wet, most of the dry.
Yep.
So that's a bit longer. So risers into it. What would you be looking? I'd be looking at I would be looking at a nice noise sweep up.
Yeah.
Something a bit. That one. So the noise stuff should sit. Shouldn't. Right, so there's a bit of a pause there.
Yeah.
So what I would do is pull that up. So that's one noise. Would you add another noise in?
Yeah, I would be looking for almost like a reverse of the first one, or something with a bit of crackle in it, or maybe some of those other crashes that are a bit more.
So I kind of like that. We'll drop that geezer in. We'll have him come in there, and then I would slightly pan that, and crash. What's?
Yeah, going to the crashes there was that sort of glassy crash. I'd throw that in and reverse it, maybe, to get some sort of.
Right. So that.
And that was maybe like a swish over the whole thing, possibly.
Yeah.
Again, I suppose it's about experimentation and.
So we drop.
Can you reverse stuff in Logic?
You can indeed. I just want to go and check something because this is show advanced tools. Yeah, it's on. I'm just not sure why it is not coming up. Should give you an option here to edit.
Was reversing on there? I
No,
thought I
it's
saw
not
it in that edit mode, no?
Let's convert to new audio file. No, not sure why it's not coming up as editable.
Is it under tools?
No. That's flummoxed me. Anybody on the forums watching this?
Do you not have like an extended tool list that
You do,
normally pops up?
Yeah, that's in preferences. What double clicking, we should be into edit mode. And we're not in.
Yeah, we'll get back to you on that
Yeah,
one.
but fair enough. What else would we put in? Riser. Again, I wouldn't want. Perhaps
Any snares and stuff?
Yeah, well, let's go to construction kits. And let's go to.
So this would be a good one. So that's the snares in the constructionist kit are 1 to 8. The tracks at 1 3 8. How would you deal with that in Logic?
Well, you just. The way Logic's playing today, God only knows, but we just drag and drop it. Let me just. Let's go to flex time.
That does it automatically there, does it?
Automatically.
Bit low maybe in the mix. That.
Certainly is. So let's go to again, mixing wise, let's.
So that track's obviously quite loud.
Yeah,
'cause
so it's full. I think I probably kept the mastering on that accidentally. So we've again highlighted these three guys, pulled them. Sorry. Let's pull this geezer. And the crash.
So again, I think it's probably another good example of how, when the track's sort of well sorted, that you don't need to do a huge amount to the actual risers to mix them. If your sort of track's working, again, the risers are a secondary element that should kind of almost drop in. Obviously, we've processed the effects and stuff so that they are able to drop in a bit nicer as well. But
Absolutely no, you don't need to do much with the risers. The risers are just again there to enhance. We don't, the noise sweeps. We just want to barely hear them in the mix. We don't want it to become too much of a
maybe a bit more if it's an EDM sort of track.
Yeah. So
Cool.
Yeah, so we've got a couple more questions here. This one's from Tiago TJ. He's got a couple in, but I'll pick one. If we maybe got time, we'll get to the other one. But he wants to know, do you think having uplifters not in the same key as the track make a weird sound combination? And I guess then, if it does, how do you deal with that?
Well, generally speaking, uplifters are moving pitch, so they're always going to be
going through
pitches. So I don't think that's really an issue as such.
it all depends on where.
If you throw up a pitched risers from your risers, yeah.
See, it starts on a note, which might. So there's a
Try
pitch,
throwing, yeah.
There's a pitch riser. Let's drop it in now. And again, flex time. Sort that out for me, Logic. Oh, you're so very kind. So. But I wouldn't use that.
So you could maybe use that sort of. You could maybe use that last section, if you know what I mean. So I would automate up from say there up.
Mm-hmm. What, fade audio?
Yeah, just fade the audio up from say somewhere about here.
So have it completely quiet.
Just when the sort of part of the track is starting to filter up itself. So you've got maybe a bit of a problem area at the start. So just
get rid of that problem area. Yeah. So that's got a definite tone in it, and you can sort of get it to work because it's rising through, it's pitching up.
Yeah, I think it's probably a bigger problem when you're dealing with the lower and mid frequencies. Less of a problem when you're up in the higher frequencies and when things are being high passed and moved about that sort of range. Brian.
Yep, so we've got another one here then from Dan DeMarch on the discuss comments, and he wants to know what is the best way to not overdo effects. He says he's the type of producer that loves to use them a lot in the background and in breaks, but sometimes I think they come out too much. I'm hearing a lot of deep house tracks where the effects are minimal. What is the best choice?
I think
less is more. Isn't it?
I think for deep house and techno, the effects almost have to be based on the track.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think throwing in a sweep to a techno track, you're going to get away with it.
No, it doesn't. It's not.
It's not what techno's about.
No, it's not about. It's about sort of their distorted, grungy groove. There's always a groove element to their effects. If you go to the Steve Ward course, the low shizzles and stuff, and they're not. Techno's certainly not creating big hands in the air moments. It's creating.
Well, it's just not. Yeah, it's not creating those big sort of riser moments.
Yeah.
For EDM stuff, it's just about subtlety in the mix. I think is just balance. Again, we've talked about this quite a lot. The main track has to be doing the business before you can start thinking about your effects.
When I produce them, when I get to the effects bit, that's me happy. I think
because the track's done.
All the boring work's done for me. I hate I hate getting it to a stage where it's all hammered. When I get to do effects,
It's the cherry on the icing on the
absolutely,
cake.
and I could sit for days.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing a build and a break and all that kind of stuff, and you haven't got the effects yet, and it's not working, effects are not gonna fix it. They're just really about enhancing it. So if you're at a point in your track and you think, oh, this break isn't working, I'm gonna fix it with effects. That's not really what you need to do. You need to get your main track sounding right. Maybe using some of the techniques, the delay we were talking about, or opening up your filters, or opening up your release times, or various different techniques that you can use. And then it's really about your effects are just sort of underneath there.
To me, effects are all about guiding if you're listening to your record, you're telling the listener something's going to happen.
This is the last four bars, or this is the last
here's
bar.
A drop. Here's where we're going to get intricate. This is where it's going to get big. So think of the things that you can do to do that. You can use filters, and that gives you, starting slow, low, opening high, getting shh. You can use effects in terms of delay, reverbs to give you a big, cacophony of just. I love nothing more than that. It's all feeding back in itself. There's drums going. It's a total mess, and then you slam down, and it's that ding, 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 and you've gone from something that's just that almighty mess, and then you have pitch, which is EDM, sort of, those. Think of how you can use those elements in your tracks. Can you use, should you be using filters? Should you be using effects feeding back in itself, or should you be using pitch?
I think one of the early tech tips I did a couple of on effects risers. Getting synth stabs and looping them up, and it's similar to the Swedish House Mafia, the way they use the kick at the start of one, where it's like. So thinking of elements of how maybe you could use a sampler to, sample a loop and pitch it and move the start point, or various different elements.
Because I was even thinking today, there's several different options even on pitch. You can go into Logic and you can use the speed up, which will give you a speed up sort of feel. There is going into Anna and using the pitch oscillators, which will give you, the oscillators pitching, or you could use a pitch bend. There's various different think of different creative ways. White noise, different filters. Use two, slightly pan left and right, and add spread on those to give you width.
Would you ever do something like put a phaser over the entire mix down of a track?
One of my favorite effects I used to use, and it was from BT, was a 909 filter down, really snappy, and a phaser just going.
Maybe automate that to the crescendo.
And then the filter of the snares just opening up, and it just became this. And that could last for 32 bars, that snare roll. And that was, I used to love doing that. You wouldn't get away with it today, but yeah, 30. It wasn't even 16ths, it was 30 seconds. It was a real coming through, phasing up and down, filtering down, and then filtering up, and it was just glorious.
Cool. Brian.
Yep, so we've got sort of one or two more questions here. There's another one here on Discuss from Mars. I think he had a question in earlier, but this one's quite good too. He wants to know what are some good workflow tips for keeping the use of your risers and FX fresh and innovative? Reusing the same riser throughout the track can make it sound too cliche and predictable. Is there a tip or trick in terms of sequencing your risers and effects to employ throughout the track to keep things changing?
I think what we were talking about is, for your key parts of the track, you'd maybe want to, use effects on your actual sounds to create those risers, so that when that's happening for that particular part of the track, then it is completely unique to that bit of the track. And also, just having a lot of different effects that you can be throwing in at different parts, and,
to me,
almost building up your. So if you're starting off your track and you've got your run-in section, which is your drums and your bass, heading up towards your first drop, you want the effects to almost crescendo. So you don't want to be starting your track with a massive big riser in the first 8 bars. It's about building those up. Using some of the short up sounds where we were talking about some.
These are the sort of at the start. As your intro, I would be using spot effects. So you get your main body of your track, and you're getting to the drop. It's white noise. It's a bit more subtle. Your drop is a boosh, and then once you've got your drop and you're building out of your drop, then it's all hell breaks loose. You get your risers, your white noise, And yeah, you can't use the same effect the whole way through. It is boring to the ear. Also, don't overuse. I mean, one thing I'm guilty of is kitchen sinking everything. So yeah, there are definite areas of UFX that drops are drops. Risers are there, so I wouldn't use a riser necessarily going into a drop. Perhaps you could, but it's just it feels too big as a producer. So I would use a noise sweep or one of those really lovely reverse sweeps. So it's a long.
Yeah, you would always sort of save the riser to the main break.
The main break.
All the other ones are sort of, again, think about when your track's playing and you're coming up to a transitional point. Maybe it's a mid pre drop break. A wee transitional point. You don't want to be again using a big riser in there. Maybe just use your synth, open your synth up and stuff, and be creative with that part of it as well.
Absolutely, we've done the tech tip a couple of times now on the sidechain reverb. Have that opening up so it just ear candy, or if you've got the pre, you could have one of those. Just those little things in, just as little ear candy. So yeah, definite folders would, to my mind, be different parts of the song.
Good stuff. So I think that's probably it for today. It's now 3 minutes past 4. So thanks everyone for watching. And if you have any more questions on this subject, or if you want us to cover any other subjects, just give us a shout and we'll put together another live show for you and answer all your questions. So goodbye from me.
Goodbye from him.
And
I was waiting for it. See you later.